In Business show. I'm your host, Kim Rain, an ADHD author, educator, coach, and the proud owner of a late ADHD diagnosis. In these lively, perfectly imperfect episodes packed with hacks, tips, and tricks, my guest experts and I are going to bring you motivation, education, and strategies on how to balance life, business, and ADHD so you can do things your brain's way and thrive with the confidence and the success that you deserve. So fasten your seatbelts, hold on to your hats and scream if you want to go faster, because here we go. Hi guys, welcome back. So today I'm super excited to have Amanda Perry on the show for us. Amanda is an ADHD business mentor and the host of the Brain First podcast. And Amanda and I haven't actually ever really spoken before, but it's now 23 minutes past when we were coming on to talk. And I think that's why I wanted you on the podcast, because I've watched you on your stories and there's just so many things that you talk about and do, and I'm like, yeah. So I was like, I've got to have you on the show, and I knew we would have a good conversation. So thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for asking me. I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
Seeing where we go. Okay, let's start off, I think, because one of the things that I think for me that draws me to you is the story, because I think probably I see similarities in your story, but also in my story, but also in a lot of the women and entrepreneurs that I coach myself. So you had you had a successful agency for 5 years, and like you said that it was everything on the outside looked amazing, and yet wasn't really. Let's start there. What was the business, or what were you doing, and how was that?
So I just to go back a little bit before that, I've been in business for 18 years. I actually, the day I started, or the day I left my corporate job, was the day that they were queuing around the block at Northern Rock to take their money out in the 2007 credit crunch.
Wow. And
I was just a bit kind of my mum and dad were like, are you sure you're doing the right thing? And I was completely undiagnosed ADHD, like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? You know, ended up bankrupt from that business, like completely actually bankrupt. It was really, really awful. And that whole section of my kind of business journey made so much sense once I was diagnosed. Yeah. I really understood that. You know, it's chaotic kind of wheels falling off part of that business. So I had a few years where I was kind of trying a few bits and pieces. And in that time, I started a baking kit subscription box, which sounds random, but my first business was a cake shop. So I wanted to take everything I knew from that and kind of take all the people and the high street rents and all that kind of thing out of it. So having that business, I taught myself I grew it through digital marketing, mainly Facebook ads. And that attracted people coming to me asking if I could help. So I eventually sold the baking kit business and then really just focused on the digital marketing aspect of it. So it really started with me at a laptop. It was the first business I had where I was like, oh, I can just make money from speaking to people and like helping people and just working from anywhere on my laptop. I don't have to be chained to a location, and that really, really worked for my brain. And I guess what I did was, do you know that the story of the fisherman? Is it the Brazilian fisherman or something, where he's like really happy fishing, and this businessman comes to him and says, oh, you should get more boats and hire more people and you can make more money. And it turns out that, you know, for what reason? Well, so that you can spend more time with your family and do all the things you want to do. And he's like, well, I already do that. You know, that's kind of the journey that I went on. I was really happy working for myself, working with clients, and that kind of grew to the point where we were a team of 40, turning over 2 million a year. And I repeated the same cycle as before. I didn't end up bankrupt, but I repeated the same cycle in terms of growing too fast, like responding to demand rather than really thinking, hang on, is this what I want? Like, am I happy?
Yes.
You know, I was living how it looked rather than how it felt. And then in 2020 got my diagnosis, and that is literally when everything changed.
Yeah, it's interesting. A few things that you said there is like, I see that as well. The fast growth, when we're so reactive and the dopamine
Yeah.
feels so good, and it's like, oh my
Yes.
God, this is so successful, and
Yes.
like, oh, so much feedback. And I see that a lot and have experienced that a lot, like the sudden growth. And then the other thing that you said as well was like, in your first business, you went from having a shop to doing the subscription because you wanted to take the people out. And I remember
Yeah.
my first business was similar. I had a series of boot camps and fitness camps in Surrey, and I
Oh,
loved
cool.
it. But I had a lot of clients, I had a team, and actually it was the management of people that I found so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And I wanted the same as you. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to be a coach and sit behind a laptop and take the people out.
Yeah, how do I take the people out? And it's not, you know, I feel like there's quite a lot of shame around that, particularly on like LinkedIn, or, you know, there's that saying of go fast alone, go far together.
Yeah.
And you know, people love to talk about that and like, yeah, build a team and that's how you go far. And like going fast alone is all right as well.
Yeah.
You know, we like for us to recognize that we are better going fast alone, and that suits our brain better, and that's like the fairest thing for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible people manager. I find communication, delegation, following up really, really exhausting.
Yeah.
And also actually really frustrating, very unfairly really frustrating, because and I think a lot of us are very quick learners, I learned recently about we're autodidactic learners. Do you know about this?
What does that mean?
So I didn't know about this at all, but so autodidactic is that we learn by doing rather than learning.
Right.
So we can literally watch something, go and do it, and we'll just learn as we go along, rather than being taught or someone telling us or having to watch a whole course or a whole load of videos on it. We'll just kind of give it a go and learn.
That's why we don't read instruction manuals, I guess.
100%, exactly. But then that frustrates, and it's constantly a source of, this makes me sound like such an awful person, but it's a source of frustration between me and my husband, because he'll, you know, ask me something and I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, I had to learn it. Like, just Google it, you know, go and look it up. And that makes me building a team not fair on them, and definitely not fair on me, because it's just not how I work best. And I think that more people need to talk about that, because there is an element of shame, but actually it's recognizing that and working with that is the fairest thing we can do, the best thing we can do.
Yeah, and I think that I've seen that as well in corporate scenarios with clients who have, and I've been that myself, where you kind of go up through the ranks, or you've got your business and you suddenly build a team and everyone expects you to know how to manage. But management is a skill, and it's not something that we're necessarily taught. And you know, for me, I can think of times when there's one particular incident and I think, God, I was a terrible manager. This poor person was trying to do the best for me. And I had not given her the right or enough information. I'd just kind of go, can you do that? She didn't do it right. It came back, it completely failed. And I was like, well, why didn't you do it? Now I'm like, because you didn't give her the instruction manual, Kim. You didn't tell her, but at the time. And now with us building our team for the Neurodiversity Training Academy, the first thing I did was like, okay, ops manager, and anybody that comes in now, I'm like, this is the boss. It's not me. Yeah. This is, you know, Kirsty's going to be the one that's going to tell you. And she keeps all the parts moving. And we were speaking the other day and she said, you know, as the team's growing, I'm spending a lot of my time managing people. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Because actually it's working. I can't do that because part of me thinks, I've had conversations I haven't had, do you know what I mean? I'm just, and like you say, there is shame around it, but I think it's how we are, and the more we can own that, the better.
Yeah, and I think without sounding egotistical, I think the more that people like us talk about it on podcasts, I think the perception is, you know, if you have a successful business or you have an audience or you've been in business for a long time, that you just have this stuff nailed, and somehow, you know, it's a skill that you can learn, and perhaps it is a skill that you can learn, but I feel like our ADHD traits are so misaligned to a lot of people management. I'm sure there's some brilliant people managers out there who also have ADHD, but I'm definitely not one of them.
No, me neither. And like I said to you earlier when we were talking, Daniel, like now what I say is, you know, this job's available, blah blah blah, and like we'll give you, you know, we're bonus and we'll do all the great things, but you need to know I am absolutely chaotic to work with. I'm not a nasty person to work with, but I'm chaotic, and if that's not for you, then that's okay. But you just need to know that, you know, I'll be doing my best, but sometimes it'll be turning on a sixpence or... Yeah.
But I think, don't you think that's where, you know, I know there's all this chat at the moment about labels and why does everyone need a label? But this is where, for me, the label, I'm saying that in air quotes, is so important because before I realised it was ADHD, I'd be so dysregulated or so kind of overwhelmed by delegating and all the communication that needs to go through to go with it, the executive function of like thinking for someone else, like thinking outside of my brain or having to communicate out loud, which just feels exhausting to me. And I would be so dysregulated that I would behave badly, or I would, you know, maybe snap at someone or speak in a way, and I would just think, well, that's just how everyone feels, you know. That's how. Or I've seen, you know, successful business people, like that's what Alan Sugar would do, or that's what this person would do, or rather than understanding that it's because I'm dysregulated, which is because executive function is exhausting to me and I'm depleted in that area, or, you know, and that, I think that's where the knowledge and the words and the understanding and the awareness is like just so important.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking the other side of that is the flip side of that is where you come away, I would feel awful. I'd think I'm a bad person. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I do, and to have to really stop myself doing now, is sometimes think, I'll just do it myself. It'll be quicker. I'll just do it myself. And then you're like appeasing and people, oh, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll put it right. Well, then you end up doing everybody else's job as well as your own. And
and then you just fall into resentment and you're like, why am I doing what
this?
Am I paying this is what I'm paying them for. And it's a difficult one to navigate. I was talking about this recently online. I saw someone saying, have you truly healed, or have you just built a life that avoids all of your triggers? And this kind of falls into that, doesn't it? Is it something, is not building a team actually the best, or is it something that we can do some work and heal from? I have a couple of people I work with now who are just absolutely brilliant, but I've had to kiss a whole lot of frogs to get to this point. And that, I don't know if it's something that there is, do it the people pleasing bit, or the I'll just do it myself, and falling into resentment and that kind of martyrdom that comes with that isn't healthy, is it?
No. And also I was thinking of, like, sometimes it's just finding exactly that, the right people. And I've seen this with people with access to work funding, actually, whereby they get the funding and they're like, right, I've taken this person on as a VA, and they've taken someone on, and now I say, get a support worker, get somebody that's actually going to support you, because a support worker will help you work out what you need and what you need to do and what the next steps are. Whereas a VA will be like, you tell me what to do and I'll go and do it. And half the time, they don't even know what they need to do, or there's so much to do. It's like seeing the wood from the trees. And so I've seen that quite a lot. And I used to do that myself. I'd like, brilliant, I've got this VA, everything's going to be okay. But the VA was like, yeah, I'll do whatever, but you need to tell me what to do. And I'm like, oh, now that's just another job and I don't know.
Exactly. But this is where you know, the disability conversation comes in, isn't it? Because I consider myself, you know, high functioning, high achiever. I am incredibly capable. I can
Yeah.
literally do a week's work in a day, you know, but that part of it, the communication part, there's no doubt that that is where the kind of disability aspect shows up. And there are some people for whom that is completely impossible. Like the day-to-day running of a business is actually impossible for them. And
Yeah.
they're, you know, they are disabled in that area. So
Yeah.
it's not just a case of chucking a VA in, and
Yeah.
probably a VA who's saying, yeah, I'm neurodivergent friendly or neurodivergent
Yeah.
aware, or I have ADHD too, but you know, I manage, this is how I work with ADHD people.
Yeah.
There is, I think that's a really smart bit of advice to get a support worker, because there's a piece of work in between, isn't there, that
Yeah.
needs to connect the two.
Just to help
Definitely.
you get that thing
Yeah.
out. So let's just go back a minute. So you talked about, you know, burning that business down, burning that agency down. Was the ADHD diagnosis kind of like the catalyst for that, or what kind of
Yeah,
brought that on? Was it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I talk about, you know, it was from the outside it looked like everything was
Yeah.
brilliant, and I thought I built my dream business, but I'd actually built this prison around me, and it was just, you know, there was just a real imperfect storm of lockdown, COVID.
Yeah.
We left the office in the March, a team of 5, went back in the June, a team of 35, 30, something
Oh my
like that. It was just
word.
ridiculous, because we worked exclusively with e-commerce brands. E-commerce just obviously
Went
shut up. It's all that
exploded.
anyone could.
Yeah.
Everyone was buying everything, weren't they?
Yeah.
Online. It's all we could do. So that was crazy. That was a lot. Then going back into the office, and then we went through this. I don't know if you remember this or were even impacted by it, but there was like the Great Resignation, where we were
Yes.
going back to work and people's kind of brains had changed, and they'd got a new like ambition. Or for us, the imperfect storm was having this brand new team who all knew each other working virtually, but then you get them back into an office that was actually probably a bit too small for them. And we had all the politics of some people wanted to come back to the office, some people didn't. So we were trying to manage that kind of, you know, that in a flexible way. Then you get people in the office, and a lot of people of a certain age, and these kind of cliques form, and it
Yeah.
just went from something that worked really well remotely to something that actually was, the cracks were starting to show, you know. It wasn't nice. There was a few rotten apples that we needed to find. And then you had, added to that, because everyone was working remotely, we were in Sheffield, and so an ad manager that we were maybe paying 25, 30 grand, a London agency could pay 50 grand. So we had this perfect storm, this RSD absolute nightmare of just like so many, but like this very, very high turnover for a number of reasons, you know.
Yeah.
And this Great Resignation was a large part of that. So it was just absolute hell. It was just a complete assault on my nervous system.
And yeah, I was going to say, how did that affect you?
And really badly, because I still didn't fully understand what was going on. And so understanding it looking back, you know, I was masking all day. I was in there going, you know, things are going to be fine, and come on, let's keep going, and trying to keep everyone happy and then I would just completely crash in the evenings. You know, my husband would say I just didn't know what I was going to come home to. Like, I didn't know what version of you or what state you'd be in, because it was just really, really awful. And then I knew exactly what I needed to do, but I probably left it 6 months too late to do it, because
Huge decision though. I mean, all
yeah,
that you made
huge,
that decision,
and
'cause
so
it's
many moving
massive.
parts. So many moving
Yeah.
parts. I had like the team to consider, which was a lot smaller by that point. The team, the clients, the like commitments. We had an office, like leases, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm really bad at any of the like finishing off, like dotting the I's and crossing the T's kind of stuff. So yeah, I left it like 6 months too late, and it really got to the point where I just couldn't wait to get away from it, to be honest.
Yeah. And very often though, people do like hold on, and sometimes because and I see this with businesses, I see it with relationships, I see it with friendships, I see it with all sorts of houses, living environment. It's, especially with our brains, it's easier to stay than it is to sort out all the stuff of leaving, because the leaving is like, it's almost like another task to do. Totally. So I would just keep doing what I'm doing.
Totally. Yeah, you see it in marriages all the time, don't you? Where people they almost like both know what they need to do, but the hassle and the executive function and our time processing skills and all of that stuff, it just makes it really hard to make
too much.
To make that decision, particularly when there are a number of moving parts, which there are in any of those big life things. It does, it's really hard to make that decision and kind of start that ball rolling, isn't it?
So now you have your ADHD-friendly, Amanda-friendly business. I mean, and I remember similar, not to such extent, but I remember selling the boot camps, and it was a huge decision, and I kept going, but I just needed space. And then I had this new start, and for me, I still didn't know about the ADHD. Now I know, then, like this business or future, I mean, like you've done a few things. But so what now does an ADHD friendly business look like to you?
So when I sold the agency, for the first time, I had this like such a sense of liberation where for so long I felt, whatever I posted on social media was a reflection or could impact the team, because it was a reflection of the business, not just of me. And once I'd sold it, I had this, real sense of freedom of, I'm just going to post about whatever I want to. So I started posting about ADHD, which revolutionary, but it kind of was then. People weren't really talking about it in like 2022 sort of time.
I think when I started talking about it, there was yourself, maybe Kate. There weren't very many people, were there? Because it was...
No, it wasn't it took me 18 months to post online, and I wrote a blog on Medium about and I really, really considered whether I wanted it out there or not.
Same here. The stigma was still, I think 21, 22, the stigma was still very much so. Very much there.
And it seemed to change overnight, where all of a sudden you'd see people saying like, oh, I had my ADHD diagnosis this morning, and I'd be like, be careful, like you really have to consider this. And now, people are just like talking about it freely, which is great.
You've got this space now. You're liberated. You've got this freedom. Yeah. How do you build the ADHD? How do you build the business that know fits you, fits your nervous system, and is profitable and successful, but fits into life? What are the components of that business for you now?
So the components for building that, again, is I've one of my favourite quotes is Steve Jobs' quote about you can only join the dots looking back. I think so many of us are trying to build this like step-by-step framework as we go, but with anything, there's a level of like, testing and iterating, isn't there? Yeah. So I started posting a lot about ADHD, got a lot of people coming to me asking questions, and that is how I kind of naturally fell into business coaching, business mentoring with ADHD people. And when I sold the business, I knew that I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew that whatever I did next had to be very selfish, for want of a better word. It had to be built around how I wanted to work, which was that I could work from anywhere. I could make money. I didn't have to have a team. I didn't have offices. I didn't have any rent, any of that like shiny LinkedIn stuff, you know. I wanted the opposite of that.
Yes.
I wanted it small and quiet and compact and lean and all of that stuff. So for me, that looks like understanding my energy, like understanding what gives me energy and what drains my energy, me specifically. And a lot of this is about understanding ADHD and then understanding my version of ADHD, you know, how it impacts me, and really
100%.
understanding that. So I break it down into 3 areas, which is awareness, alignment, and then action. So the awareness is like really understanding what is going on for you. Alignment is looking at what bits of your business you have to change right now, like what bits of your business really aren't working for you and what bits you need to change. And then the action is making those changes. And that, you know, I think again, we want to like distill everything down to this really neat method or framework or step by step, but it's just not how it works, is it? It's certainly not how it works for me or the majority of my clients.
I think that's where we go wrong as well. We buy into other people's methods and frameworks, and I think like going back to that time as well, like post pandemic, where people were. I think you put something out the other day about. And I thought it's so true, you know, and I've seen this in my business, you know, people were like, we wanted learning, we wanted to buy things. And I think a lot of that was driven by that not enoughness. I'm not enough. I don't know enough. I need to know more. This person's doing really well. I need to do what they're doing. And I would do that. I would buy like, okay, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to do exactly what they're doing. And within weeks, I wasn't doing what they were doing. I was looking at some people doing what they were doing, thinking, what's wrong with me? I know I'm you know, I know I can do so much more than this. I know I can go so much further than this. But why can't I do it? It's something fundamentally wrong with me. And what changed for me is exactly what you're saying. When I went, do you know what? There is no framework. There's no framework.
There isn't. There really isn't. And when you realise that, you know, every time I've come up with a method or a framework, it's marketing, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, it's me sat there going, right, how can I give this a name? How can I put it into something neat to help people understand what it is that I'm selling them and what it is I am actually going to deliver for them. But that's all everyone's doing. Like no one's got this, this is exactly how I achieve my 80k months. It was by doing this and then this and then, you know, it's all marketing, isn't it? So I think one of the things that's actually had the biggest impact, and this is not something I really talk about that much online actually, because it's a whole other thing and I don't understand a huge amount about it. But have you ever done your human design?
That's so funny. I was sitting next to Lee. So I have had my human design done. I'm a massive astrology fan, so I'm very much into my
astrology. Okay, fine, good,
huge
good,
on it.
Good.
And I think that like the way I understand human design is kind of like that on step. I mean, it's just so complex. So I'm something manifesting generator.
Yeah. So I'm a projector. And understanding more about my human design, and you know, whether you believe it or not, for me it's like a model to kind of understand myself better or build. So I've started building my business around human design, like adding human design into my business. And it's given me such a permission slip that, with kind of obviously understanding more about ADHD, but I think the energy bit is really linked to human 100%. Design. Yeah. Right. And that has made a huge difference. And I tell you how I've done it 2 ways.
Yeah.
Started off with ChatGPT, which really, really helped. I just said, knowing everything you know about my business, here's my human design chart. What should I change? That really kicked off something in me that was like, okay, I can, you know, there's a way of doing this that isn't, I'm going to sell you this method and it's this, and I'm going to sell you this, you know, it can be more, I'm selling you building blocks, you know, we're going to build this together.
Yeah.
And then working with a friend who's an ADHD coach on some like more specific like business stuff that she's doing has just been just so helpful, so insightful.
So with using the human design, and you were saying you work with an ADHD coach as well, is that around the human design, or that is
human design coach?
Right.
She's a human design coach, but she actually has ADHD. So it's interesting talking about how they interact and where they interact, and if they interact, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I definitely recognize some ASD traits in myself. So I have that real, I need to know, okay, but which is true? Is that ADHD or is that human design? And, you know, the truth is that it's not always that black and white, is it?
Yeah.
There aren't always those answers.
But it sometimes helps to have those guides. I think that with sometimes, like, when you have no answers and you're like, to have something that you can not cling to is not the right, to guide you, I think, to guide us.
Refer to, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's been a real, aside from ADHD and applying my own, like, you know, brain first kind of philosophy to it, it's been such a huge game changer for me. I would really, really, you know, recommend it to anyone really looking into their chart. I mean, it's a minefield, and there's a whole load of stuff to wade through.
I think that's what, so I had it done, and then I was just given loads and loads and loads of words, and I was like, okay, I think I just stick to my strategy. So
this is the problem with ADHD, with human design people. I said this to my friend, they're so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
The way that they talk to you about it is just generally like a fire hose, you know?
Yes.
And you're like, oh my God, I've got no idea what you just said to me, but it sounds great.
Yeah, I'm in. So let's talk a bit about the brain first stuff, like, and the philosophy around that. Talk to me how you work through with that with people.
Brain first is for me is just a way to explain, you know, business standards and neurotypical standards, aren't they? We're all working to these neurotypical, accepted, like perceived standards, which are, you know, you work and like the work day is 9 to 5, and you do a 40-hour week. And if you're in corporate or, you know, in your business, you should be seeing year-on-year growth and the team and the office and all of that stuff. And you know, the general business model is like customer first or shareholders first or profit first, you know? And I really believe that if we are to build a sustainable, enjoyable, profitable business, we don't have any choice but to put our brains first, because we can't put the customer first, because we've been doing that for years, and that's and just led us to this, what I call like functional burnout. We're all living in functional burnout, where we're just one bad email or, you know, messed up launch away from just having a complete breakdown.
Yeah.
It's not really an option. I just don't think it's an option. I think we have to build, and people, generally women, we have this perception of, as long as everyone else is happy. And I guess it's a little bit people pleasing, a little bit just how we've been conditioned.
Yeah.
You know, as long as the family's happy, as long as my clients are happy, as long as, and by doing that, we're just like, we're killing ourselves in the process, you know? We're just knackered and exhausted and not living our lives to our full, and not enjoying our work, and not enjoying time with the family, and not seeing the fruits that we should be seeing from all the work we're putting in. I see so many people working these 40-hour weeks for nothing.
Yeah.
And
100%.
why, you know? Why are we doing this?
So many people over the years have said to me as well, but the money's good. Oh my God, I've heard so many people go, but the money's good.
Yeah.
And, you know, on the coaching journey, there's come a point usually where I've gone, okay, are you prepared to tell me what the money is? And they'll say, and I guess coming from more of an entrepreneurial background, where when you've got it right, and you can be like, oh, I can make this money, I'm more in control. And they'll tell me the money's good, and I'm like, oh, you think the money's good, but I promise you, you're killing yourself for, you know, actually like that perception, isn't it, of and also, even if the money is good, like I'll do anything because the money's good. Well, you know, there's so much more to life.
One life.
One of the hardest, and just going back on something you said about the business and enjoying the business. And I think we have to have businesses that give us, with ADHD, we need fun. We need to be having stuff to fuel our brains. And I think what happens is we get hyper focused and stuck in, you know, like you in the agency when it was all going in, like there's so many parts, and I've worked with so many people, and again myself, but I've seen women burst into tears on more than one occasion when I've said this question to them. It's like, what do you do for fun? And it has floored them. It's floored them. They don't know. They're like, I don't know. Or you say, okay,
work. Yeah, I look after the kid. I'm with the kids.
There's like what it, you know. I don't know exactly. I don't know. Particularly as well, I think when you're younger, that's not something. But when you get to a point where maybe you are thinking, you know, I am thinking now about working a bit less. I don't think I'll ever retire, but I'm thinking about working a bit less. But like I said to you, like about taking time off, I was like, sometimes I think, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, you've got to know what you like. Sorry, what were you going to say?
And you have to do stuff for yourself, don't you? It's so. I think it's partly conditioning, isn't it? It's partly us as women. I think we do come last on the list, particularly, I hate to use this phrase, particularly like recent events, but like women of a certain age, we were raised to believe that, you know, as long as, certainly in my house, as long as the men were looked after and everyone, you know, the men were happy, then everything's all right, isn't it? And it is when you see your mum putting herself last on the list. You, even though you consciously know it's not the right thing, deep in your bones, you believe that it's all right to put yourself last on the list.
Exactly, and we learn from what we see, not from what we're told. And so if that's exactly the same, my mum, and I love her for it, but she's always been last on the list. Always been last on the list. And I look at my mum and I think actually, as well, when I was growing up, and you know, in the 70s and the 80s, and that was the time when women started to really have, you know, maybe a bit before, but they started to really have careers. And that, well, no one said actually. So they're like, well, you can have the career, but you have to keep doing everything you've been doing. So you can have this career, of course you can. Like, well done, liberation. Go and enjoy yourselves. But obviously, as long as you keep doing everything else, right? You're still going to do it. Is that okay? And we were supposed to be, you know, so grateful for this, in inverted commas, freedom and liberation. It's you know, I think it's our generation that's sort of like, well, hold on a minute, this is not quite balanced. And I look at my daughter's generation, which is far more like, well, I'm going to do this, so you've got to do that, and a bit fairer. And
but now that we don't have that, you know, I'm saying I was born in 78, and we, you know, when my mum had a job, that was like, it was extra income, wasn't it? House prices were still like, I don't know, 15 grand or whatever they were. It was additional income for the household. Well, that's just, people can't live on one wage anymore. No. It's just not possible, is it? It's just not, generally not possible. And I was talking to a friend yesterday about how, you know, people on finite wages, people who have a job with a wage, when you're hearing the news of, you know, there's going to be an extra 20 quid on your electricity bill, or that your mortgage is going up, the interest rates have gone up 0.5% again, and that, it must be absolutely terrifying. You know, we're in such a great position where there is, it's not, we don't have a finite income. We have the ability to increase money if we need to, if we have the capacity. And that's where, for me, you know, you can only do that with the right conditions, can't you? With the right environment, and work that you love, and work that gives you the stimulation that you need to be able to focus, and it gives you the money. I talk a lot about charging for your energy rather than charging for your time. You know, and that'll be different for all of us. Some of us, you might be able to do 6 client calls a day. I might only be able to do 2 client calls a day. That looks really different. But I think it's really important to value our energy. Otherwise, you know, we do end up in that position where maybe you are better just having a job.
Well, I've said that to people, and I sometimes think a couple of things. I think, like, when you're talking about the entrepreneur. That's what I love about being an entrepreneur, but is that actually I can say, okay, I need to diversify, I need to make more money, I can think of that. I've got the freedom to, and we're good with ideas, right? So I'm sure I'm never far away from an idea that can solve that problem. With varying degrees of success, so I'm not going to lie, but and certainly more success now than in the past, because I understand my brain and I understand what I need, and I value, like you say, I value my energy over everything. That is my number one non-negotiable, is my energy. And if something is not in alignment with my energy, it's quite an easy decision for me to go, do you know what, this isn't working out, because it's the cost is too great. Because without my energy, I can't think that way.
And that kind of links back to what we were saying about earlier, where I'm sure I've certainly done this, I'm sure you will have done as well. You know, maybe 5, even 10 years ago, you'd ignore that, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And you think, oh, this doesn't quite feel right, it doesn't quite feel aligned, or something feels off. Maybe we wouldn't have even had the vocabulary to call it our energy, but something feels off, but it's fine, I'll just ignore it. I'm sure I'll just work my way through it. Whereas now I agree, it's like, it's the loudest alarm bells for me is when it feels off energetically. And it's almost actually the sort of choice is almost taken out of my hands now. Like I can't go on with it. I can't, like, I physically can't, you know, something physically stops me from going on to continuing with something that feels off energetically.
Yeah. I think that as well, like the whole burnout scenario, I think once you've been in that space, and I mean, not just once, numerous times. I mean, I can think of, I'm sure you can, like, I think everyone I speak to, numerous burnouts that usually leads to one great big one. And I think I can think of 2 big ones that I had, because then I sort of had the big one, took a long time to recover, but recover I did, and as I started to recover, guess what? In comes the ideas, in comes, oh yeah, more, okay, let's do it. And before I knew where I was straight back on that kind of like roundabout / roller coaster, another big burnout. And now I'm like, okay, now I understand it. What I sometimes see, I've seen quite a lot actually, then having been in that place of burnout, it really kept me small for so long. I was a bit like, but if I try and do this, what if I burn out again? If I try and do that, what if I burn out again? And now I'm like, do you know what, Kim? I know you are not going to burn out again, because I trust myself implicitly that I'm not going to let that happen. So now I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try it, but if it's a no, it's a no. But I see that a lot of people then playing really small, because the fear of going back to that space is so great.
Yeah. I was literally about to, so I call it FOBO, the fear of burning out. Where you literally see people who've been through burnout and are so terrified of going back there. And I think there's almost like a fork in the road, isn't there, where some people filter off to the lane that you've gone down, where you think, no, I have like the trust in myself, I understand myself. And some people go down the other lane where they might as well still be in burnout, because they're so terrified of going back to it that they don't set the goals, they don't make the plans, you know, they don't have that vision that they used to have, and the excitement about their business, and they're just keeping themselves in this place of just like darkness, really, where they can't move on, because the burnout impacted them so deeply that they're just terrified to go back there. I agree. I see that an awful lot with people, and it's really devastating. It's almost something that no one can help you with. It's kind of something you have to work through. And I don't know, maybe a therapist or something, but it feels like very internal work to me, to get to the point where you have that trust in yourself, where you think, I have to go for this, otherwise what's the point?
I think that's where a good coach comes in, and I think a good coach who understands ADHD, who understands your brain, who can help you be like, actually, we can do this in small steps. We can do this in really small steps, and we can take it bit by bit, and we can, like, as well. And not everybody wants or needs to be a multi-million-pound business owner. Some people and that's okay. I know that I'm not prepared to probably do what it would take to get, my business to multi-millions. I'm not, I want it to be big. I want it to be successful. I've got big plans, but actually I'm like, and maybe when I get those plans done, I probably will be like, okay, what's the next thing? But I know if I start looking at that multi-million, that's when my energy starts to go down. So I'm like, well, just the next step. But I also think for some people, enough is enough, and that's okay.
Totally. I think it comes back to the fisherman proverb, doesn't it? It's like understanding what you want and what the objective is for you, is because I did all of that. And the ultimate objective was to be where I am now, which is earning more money, like more personal income than I was earning when I was doing 2 million plus a year.
Yeah.
Having far more freedom, far more autonomy, far more time, to spend with my family and my young son. It's not like the path to get there for me personally just isn't worth it. And I completely agree. I am so here for, the people that just want to make they just want to replace their salary, or they just want to make a couple of grand a month to add to the household income, or that is a very valid business and a very valid reason for being in business. They have my full support. I think the people I tend to work with are have like bigger goals, bigger ambitions, but I think that there needs to be more talk, or certainly less shame around people who just want to replace the salary.
Yeah. And I think as well, if they would, I've seen people who are trying to do the big ambitions, they're burning out time and time again, and it's not working. And sometimes it's like having that conversation that says, is this really what you want? And actually maybe right now you just dial it back and you strip it back, maybe like you did, like I did, strip it back and go, okay, this is enough for now, and now I'm just going to take it step by step, and slowly your confidence grows, and then you're like, right, I'm ready to take on the world again. Now I'm ready for world domination again. That's fine.
Totally.
But it's the energy thing, isn't it? It's meet yourself and your brain, your energy and your brain where it's at.
And it's self-trust. I talk about this a lot, but I think so many of us have depleted our self-trust because we've announced so many different things. We've told friends and families are big, I'm going to do this now, or we've made these promises to ourselves that I'm going to, from Monday morning, I'm going to exercise every day, and I'm not going to eat any sugar, and whatever these promises are, that we have no trust in ourselves, and we feel like no one has trust in us. So actually, going back to basics, starting small and making those tiny little promises that you can keep to yourself, building that self-trust and that foundation of, I can trust myself, even if it's, I'm going to get outside and walk for 10 minutes every day, or I'm going to answer my emails at 9 o'clock every morning for 10 minutes. If you can do that for 30 minutes, you just start to build that self-trust muscle back up again, and that is a really important place to start operating from, I think.
Because I think if you lose faith in yourself, which I think we've all been through, that's when it's really hard, when you don't even have faith in yourself. Amanda, definitely. You've been awesome. I knew you would be. Tell us where we can find you. You've got a book coming, but it's not coming for quite a while. Unfortunately, we've got to wait for that. And you're currently launching something. So tell us what you're up to and where we can find you.
So best place to find me is Amanda Perry on Instagram. I'm also kind of off and on LinkedIn, but Instagram's the best place to find me. Follow
Amanda's stories. I love them. Go on. Sorry.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, come and follow me there and you'll see everything I'm up to. I'm just launching a workshop membership. And I'm just really building out. I've just launched the Brain First podcast, relaunched the Brain First podcast. But come and follow me on Instagram. You'll see it all there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thanks
for listening,
Kim.
guys.
Thanks so much for asking me.